O.N.V സാർ എഴുതിയ ഒരു വളരെ ഫേമസ് ഒരു ചലച്ചിത്ര ഗാനം, ഒരു വട്ടം കൂടിയൻ ഓർമ്മകൾ. അപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ അച്ഛനും എനിക്കും വളരെ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട ഒരു, അപ്പോൾ അത് ഞാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനടുത്ത് പറയാൻ ഞങ്ങൾ തമ്മിൽ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കുറേ ചർച്ചകളൊക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതൊരു വലിയൊരു ഭാഗ്യമായിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ തിരിഞ്ഞു നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇവരൊക്കെ കാണാൻ, അയ്യപ്പ പണിക്കർ സാറിൻ്റെ, അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ കാണാനും അവരുമായിട്ട് പല കാര്യങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കാനും പറ്റുന്നതൊരു വലിയൊരു, അവരൊക്കെ പലപ്പോഴും വീട്ടിൽ വരുമെന്നുള്ളതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു. ആൻഡ് ജി ശങ്കരക്കുറുപ്പ്, he used to come to our place very often. And he loved flowers. I still remember he used to spend a lot of time in our garden just looking at flowers. He loved it.
Welcome to How Did You, a podcast series where we explore journey of creative minds from different walks of life. ഇന്ന് എൻ്റെ കൂടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന ഗസ്റ്റ് വളരെ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ആയിട്ടൊരാളാണ്. Someone who aspires to see India as a design-savvy nation because he believes nothing is left untouched by design. G.V. Sreekumar sir, namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine.
Yes, so as I was saying, design typography is something that you have spoken a lot, അല്ലേ? എന്താണ് അതിനെപ്പറ്റി പറയാനുള്ളത്? Why do you think it is very important?
Design is involved everything we do in life, every object you touch or use. Right from the time you wake up, you look at, most of us use an alarm in a mobile phone. That includes an interface which links you with the phone. Success of that activity is based on how good the interface is designed. And after you wake up, you read a newspaper. Again, there is design involved in it. How good is a paper, how comfortable you can read a newspaper, depends on how well it is designed. You pick up the milk pouch in front of your door, there is design in it. So everything you do in a subconscious level is related to design, and designers affect our life in a very major way. Unfortunately, we are living at a time when there is a lot of problems of awareness to do design.
Okay.
Generally, people are not aware of a profession called design. And in many countries, when you say design, people will ask, okay, will you design my churidar? So it is confused with fashion design all the time. So there is a lot of things. There is communication design, there is product design, there is interior design, there is architecture, there is vehicle design. There are a lot of this kind of accessories design, what you wear or what you footwear, everything. Then this mic and the camera you use, the lighting you do. Design is everywhere.
Yes.
And the thing is that many times a designer creates a product where design goes to the background. And many times a designer has to be silent. I'll give an example of a book or a newspaper. When you read a newspaper, if you notice the design rather than the content, then the design is a failure. So when you design a newspaper, you design in such a way that the reader can read, but design should be very subtle, silent. And it is very difficult to design something where what you do, your product, is in the background. When you design a book, for example, it is a 400-page book, then we should never come between the reader and the author. That is called silent typography. But of course, there is loud things also. Many things like this logo. This is designed to be loud, and you should see this logo. But many other times we have to do silent also. So all these things a designer has to take care. Like the apps in your phone. Many times that design should be very silent and effective. User interface design is a very big thing now, and A lot of interesting work is happening in that.
So how do you find a balance between, you have to create a balance, right? It should not distract
Yes.
the viewer or the
Yes.
reader.
Yes.
So how do you find the balance? Where did you get that kind of interest? Like you have a taste for design and all.
Oh, my taste for design started when I was a child.
Oh, okay.
I maybe first standard or so.
Okay.
So people used to come to invite for wedding at home. They will come with a envelope. In that there will be a wedding invitation card. I realized everyone writes so beautifully. They write your name, all that. I was very surprised how everyone who comes to invite people for wedding, how do they write it so well. As I grew up, there was a movie called Jesus in Malayalam. It was, so I am born and brought up in Trivandrum. And when we were traveling, I used to see this film posters. So I noticed the letters in newspapers and magazines all the time.
Okay.
I think this time I was in the third standard or something like that. So I saw this poster of Jesus. The letters were written with straight lines
Okay.
with an angular cut only at the right angles.
Huh.
So it was very, very kind of it looks like a Nokia logo. Then it has nothing to do with Jesus, but it was very odd looking. So I asked my parents, why is this J of Jesus in the poster? Why is it different from the newspaper Janayugam, where Janayugam is written in a very different way? Both are the same, letters are same, but they look so different. And the same J looks different when I write it or my father writes it. So I asked them. They didn't have an answer.
Okay.
So then I got very curious about these letter forms. I think maybe it is all born,
Did you have a good handwriting when you were in school?
I don't think so, but after the fifth standard, I had a good handwriting.
So it started way before you
Yes,
realized
yes,
about,
yes, yes. So before fifth standard, my dad, he was not only a writer, but he used to do painting also, and he used to encourage me and he used to teach me also. That I used to do, but my life changed in terms of typography. In fifth standard, one teacher of mine was sent for some training in Bangalore. So when he went for training, there was one teacher who was training him, was a good calligrapher.
Okay.
So that person taught calligraphy to my teacher. He came back to my school and then he taught us calligraphy. Till then I had never seen. So he cut a bamboo stick, then cut a flat edge to it, dipped it in ink, and he started writing English letters. It was so beautiful. And he used to make some posters and put it on the walls of the class. From that day, I just couldn't listen to any other class. I used to just look at these posters. It was so beautiful. His name that time his name was Ambalappuzha Prabhakaran Nair. Later, he went into the spiritual path. He changed his name to Swami Durgananda Saraswati. He conducts discourses in Trivandrum now. I am very much indebted to him for initiating me to the wonderful world of calligraphy and typography. So my visual grammar, everything changed. I think that improved my handwriting a lot. So after that, my handwriting improved. And then I got fascinated by different fonts and different letters. And I think till I reached my graduation, I think calligraphy was self-taught after fifth standard. I couldn't get to learn from this teacher anymore. But after that, I think self-learning thing happened. Then my graduation was in Baroda MS University. I had a wonderful calligraphy teacher there. And in front of the class, we had a bamboo tree. So whenever you want to do calligraphy, you can just go cut a piece from it and then practice calligraphy. So that teacher also, that is the first time I learned Devanagari calligraphy.
So were you already like aware of scripts and...
Yes, but I had never done calligraphy in Hindi language at all. That is the time I learned that. Then I got admission in IDC in IIT Bombay for my masters. There I met the greatest calligrapher of all time, Professor R.K. Joshi. Then it was a very different life. For him, calligraphy was like his heart. Like his breathing started and ended with calligraphy, like that. So then I could learn a lot from him. I think R.K. Joshi sir has encouraged generations of calligraphers and typographers in the world. I was lucky to be one of them. Achyut Palav, Santosh Sirsagar, Vinay Sainekar, like that. So many are students of Professor R.K. Joshi. So there I continued my journey as a calligrapher.
So the beauty of it is like you always had people in your life in different stages of your life, right?
Yes. I was lucky to have
Yeah, because it's not something that happens quite often with everyone.
No.
But you had right people at the
Yes,
right time,
right time.
where you could follow your passion,
Yes.
follow your interest. So did you have collections of tools and things like that which
Not much. Because till 92, till I finished my masters, this bamboo stick was the most popular and affordable and most widely used calligraphy tool for, I think, all over India. It was the. And once, in 86, that time my cousin gifted me a rotring art pen. Apart from that, there was no concept of this collection of tools because almost all calligraphers use this bamboo stick. I think all these things came after 10 years or so, maybe 2000, that now we have different wooden handles and lot of different techniques of nib, pilot parallel pen and brushes and cola pen and foldable pen and all that. Now we have hundreds of tools available, and yes, now today if when I look at my studio, I think I have got a collection of maybe more than 100 different tools. But those days it was not there and it was not needed also.
yes.
So now, and one good thing is in India after this lockdown, there are a lot of people who are making calligraphy pens, tools and selling it. It was not there earlier. Like Suresh Wagmare and many other people they're taken it as a profession. They make finely crafted pens of different sizes. And you can customize them. So some of them have this big size nibs, which once you draw, it will create 12 parallel lines.
Okay.
So all these things are available now.
Today.
It was not complex at that time.
Okay. So you have also been someone who has worn many hats, many roles. Like you are also a professor. Tell us about your journey at IIT Bombay.
Okay, so I am an alumnus.
Okay.
I worked outside for a while and then I joined as a faculty in the year 2000. First 1 year was a bit strange because all the colleagues were people who have taught you.
Yeah.
So you are in that kind of a field that. But then every profession has its own advantages. So my mother is a teacher, so it is a very noble profession. I feel very nice that you get a chance to polish diamonds. So I believe all the students are diamonds. It's a question of each one needs a different time frame for polishing it. They all end up as diamonds. So, like my Guru R.K. Joshi sir said once that we are not doing anything. We can't claim for anything you have designed or any student you have created. God is doing that, and it happens that He selected your hand to do it. So I really believe what he said. I don't claim any of the designs I made or any of the great students I have produced. Someone else was doing it on power above. I happen to be lucky that that power used my hands to do it. Like Udaya Kumar, who has designed the rupee symbol, is my student. There are a lot of great designers who are my students, but I don't claim.
സോ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ ടീച്ചർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു പ്രൊഫസർ someone who is a guru അല്ലേ knowledge sharing that is a role that you have played. Apart from that, you've also worked with publications. You have done design for magazines.
Yes.
Take us through that journey. What is the transition? How were you always confined to like art, literature? This is something that was always in and around your life since you were a child, അല്ലേ typography. Where did that come from?
I think partly I was lucky that the home atmosphere was like that. അച്ഛൻ കാരണം ഈ ആൾക്കാരും എല്ലാ സാഹിത്യകാരന്മാരും കാണാനും ആ സമയത്ത് ഞങ്ങളുടെ വീടിൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് ഒരു 4 kilometer റേഡിയസിൽ ദർ ആർ സം 10 പോയറ്റ്സ് ലൈക്ക് ദാറ്റ്. അപ്പോൾ മികച്ച സാഹിത്യകാരന്മാരെ ഒരുപാട് പേരെ കാണാനും പരിചയപ്പെടാനും അങ്ങനെ കലാകാരന്മാരെയും അതിൻ്റെ ഒരു ഇമ്പാക്റ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഈ ലിറ്ററേച്ചറുമായിട്ട് വളരെ ഒരുപാട് വായിക്കാൻ ഈ സാഹിത്യ ഇതുമായിട്ട് എനിക്ക് വളരെ ബന്ധമുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ വായിക്കാനും അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ടുകൂടെയാണെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു ഈ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ന്യൂസ് പേപ്പറിലൊക്കെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴേ ആ ഒരു ഫെമിലിയർ ആ ഒരു ഫീൽ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ എനിക്ക് ഈ പല എഡിറ്റേഴ്സുമായിട്ടും ഒരുപാട് എഴുത്തുകാരുമായിട്ട് പരിചയപ്പെടാനും ഇപ്പോൾ ആർ കെ ലക്ഷ്മണനെ പോലൊരു മഹാനായ ഒരു കാർട്ടൂണിസ്റ്റുമായിട്ട് പരിചയപ്പെടാനും അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഉള്ളൊരു ഒരു അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയർ, ആ എക്സ്പോഷർ കിട്ടി. പിന്നെ മാഗസിൻ ഡിസൈനിലോട്ട് പോകുന്നത് അതും എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ബൈ ചാൻസ് ആണ്. ഞാനൊരു ന്യൂസ് പേപ്പറിൽ ഇൻഫോഗ്രാഫിക് സ്പെഷ്യലിസ്റ്റായിട്ട് വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയമായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ MG മൊയിനുദ്ദീൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടൊരു ഫേമസ് ഒരു ഡിസൈനറുണ്ട്. അദ്ദേഹം അവിടെ നിന്ന് വിട്ടുപോയി വേറൊരു സ്ഥലത്ത് പോയി ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ആർട്ട് ഡയറക്ടർ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു മാഗസിൻ ഡിസൈൻ ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് എനിക്കൊരു ജോബ് ഓഫർ ചെയ്തിട്ട് എന്നെ അങ്ങനെ അവിടെ ആർട്ട് ഡയറക്ടറായിട്ട് എന്നെ നിയമിക്കുകയായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഓഫർ വന്നു, ഞാൻ അക്സെപ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് അവിടെ പോയി ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത് 1 വർഷം കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടാണ് ഞാൻ അറിയുന്നത്. സാധാരണ ഒരു മാഗസീനിലും അങ്ങനെ ഒരാൾ ആദ്യമായിട്ടൊരു മാഗസിൻ ഡിസൈൻ ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ആർട്ട് ഡയറക്ടറായിട്ട് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഇതെല്ലാം ഒരു നിയോഗം പോലെ എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു. അതുപോലെ ഈ MG മൊയിനുദ്ദീൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഹി വാസ് എ വെരി ഫേമസ് പബ്ലിക്കേഷൻ ഡിസൈനർ ആൻഡ് he had a lot of practical knowledge which is not available in any design school. So I get to learn a lot from a person like him, hands-on.
Yes.
So he had like Professor R.K. Joshi, he had a fine sense of this, my observing details. One word space goes somewhere there, he will point out, like that. So he taught me. 1 year I worked with him. He taught me how to set the column size, what is the gutter space, how to set the margins, all that. So that was a great learning experience. That is how I got interested in magazine design. Then I was involved in the design of, there was a magazine called Intelligent Investor. It was part of an Outlook group at that time in Bombay. So there I had a chance to work with Sandeepan Deb, he was the editor. Then Gautam Chikkarman and our designer was Vishudip Moitra, and all of them came from Outlook to do this also. So I got to learn a lot from these people. Prashant Panjiyar was a photo editor and all that. So for them, the page design was a very important activity. That is the first time I am coming across a set of top people like editor and art director, all of them, giving very much importance to page design of a magazine. Then I became the art director of Chip magazine and Digit and all that group, art director of all that. So there...
This was all in Kerala?
No, this was on Bombay.
Mumbai, right? Bombay. Yeah. So Kerala is after...
Yeah, after my graduation and post-graduation, I never worked in Kerala.
Okay. So you're saying Chip magazine, yes.
Yeah. Then in Chip magazine, I had to do everything alone. I didn't have this kind of people guiding.
Okay.
Then I really enjoyed designing magazines. And book covers I used to do when I was in the 10th standard also.
Okay.
But I enjoyed a lot magazine design. Then after joining IIT has a very interesting method of this. They encourage us to do professional consultancy projects. So that is a very good thing. So I could do a lot of consultancy projects like that. There is a time I designed Overdrive and Savvy and Society, and then one project I really like when I look back is Chandamama English edition. It gave me a lot of satisfaction.
So Chitranjali Studio.
Yes.
So you have seen your father building it up.
Yes,
And what
yes.
was that journey like? People who would not know about it.
Yeah, so he was the first managing director of Kerala State Film Development Corporation, and nothing was there. He had to do from scratch. He had to go to some 100 places to see which one will be the best place for this. So I have seen Chitranjali Studio before government acquired it and after inauguration also. And my father was so involved, and everything he had to do meticulous way. He is very meticulous in the planning and all that. So I have seen it grow like that, from just one brick there to a big studio there. And I was in school at that time. My fascination towards Chitranjali Studio was when you go there, when you go to the top of the hill, you can see aircraft going on top of you. It was on the landing path. For me and my brother, we were mad about aircraft. For us, any visit to Chitranjali Studio was like watching planes land. And it was very difficult for us to leave and go back home, because both of us could spend hours watching just planes land. So that is a main memory I have about. Then I think I was still in school when it was inaugurated. But many people, including Mrinal Sen and Satyajit Ray, gave a very good opinion about the facilities set up at that time. And I think it was a big landmark in the...
Definitely,
yeah.
yes.
So my dad was so sentimentally attached. He wrote a letter and gave it to my brother: when I die, some part of my ashes should be put there,
Okay.
below one tree. So when he passed away, we went there and we did that actually.
In your childhood, you were like having a lot of artists around, in and around your life. Alle? Who were those artists that has been a part of your life?
For example, I'll give you poets. Ayyappa Paniker, O.N.V. Kurup, G. Shankara Kurup. പിന്നെ കുറച്ച് നാൾ വയലാർ രാമവർമ്മയും ആ ഏരിയയിൽ വാടകയ്ക്ക് താമസിച്ചിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ദർ വാസ് എ ടൈം വെൻ ഓൾ ദിസ് ഫോർ ഗ്രേറ്റസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദ ഗ്രേറ്റ് പോയറ്റ്സ് വെർ വിത്തിൻ ദറ്റ് 2 kilometer, 1 kilometer circle. So I could meet, I have never met Vayalar, but later I became a big fan of his. But I could meet all the other three very regularly. So all three are G. Shankara Kurup, O.N.V. and Ayyappa Paniker are family friends. And G. Shankara Kurup, he used to come to our place very often. And he loved flowers. I still remember he used to spend a lot of time in our garden just looking at flowers. He loved it. So that time I didn't know how great a poet he is, but I used to interact with all of them. And I was too young to read their poetry or to understand it or to enjoy. But later when I grew up, so I am like, there are some poems by O.N.V. I just admire it. I told him also, later I have discussed, and so O.N.V. സാർ എഴുതിയ ഒരു വളരെ ഫേമസ് ഒരു ചലച്ചിത്ര ഗാനം, ഒരു വട്ടം കൂടിയൻ ഓർമ്മകൾ. അപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ അച്ഛനും എനിക്കും വളരെ ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട അപ്പോൾ അത് ഞാൻ അദ്ദേഹത്തിനടുത്ത് പറയാൻ, ഞങ്ങൾ തമ്മിൽ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കുറേ ചർച്ചകളൊക്കെ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അതൊരു വലിയൊരു ഭാഗ്യമായിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ തിരിഞ്ഞു നോക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇവരൊക്കെ കാണാൻ, അയ്യപ്പ പണിക്കർ സാറിൻ്റെ, അപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ കാണാനും അവരുമായിട്ട് പല കാര്യങ്ങൾ പഠിക്കാനും പറ്റുന്നതൊരു വലിയൊരു, അവരൊക്കെ പലപ്പോഴും വീട്ടിൽ വരുമെന്നുള്ളതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു...
What a blessing to live in that.
Yes.
അല്ലേ? അതെ.
അതുപോലെ അവർ ആ ഫോർമാലിറ്റീസ് എന്നൊക്കെ ഒഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടേ അവരെ മനുഷ്യരായിട്ട് കാണാൻ പറ്റുക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് അതൊരു... അതെ. ഇപ്പം തകഴി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ M.T. സാറ്, അവരൊക്കെ വീട്ടിൽ വന്ന് അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ഒരുമിച്ചിരുന്ന് ചായ കുടിച്ചപ്പോൾ അവർ ആ ഡിഫൻസസ് ഒന്നും ഇല്ലാതെ വളരെ നാച്ചുറലായിട്ടാണ് സംസാരിക്കുന്നതും. അങ്ങനെ മലയാറ്റൂർ രാമകൃഷ്ണൻ സാർ, അപ്പം അങ്ങനെ ഒരു വലിയൊരു ഭാഗ്യമായിട്ട് തന്നെയാണ് ഞാൻ
തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും.
കണക്കാക്കുന്നത്.
Yeah, which is why you have so much of things to share also. ഇതെല്ലാം ഇതിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമാണല്ലോ.
അതെ.
കണ്ടും കേട്ടും നമ്മൾ വളരുന്നത് അതിൻ്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ്.
പിന്നെ ഒരു വലിയൊരു ഗുണമുള്ളത്, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയർ ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ട് ഈ സെലിബ്രിറ്റീസ് ഒരു സ്റ്റക്ക് ഒരു ഫീൽ എനിക്കില്ല. അപ്പം ഞാൻ ഇന്ന് ഒരു സെലിബ്രിറ്റിയെ കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എനിക്ക് അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഞെട്ടലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഇല്ല. അപ്പം അതൊരു വലിയ കാരണം ചിലപ്പോൾ ഒരു സെലിബ്രിറ്റി പുറത്ത് വരുമ്പോൾ ആൾക്കാർ കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ള ആ ഒരു ഹൈപ്പൊന്നും എനിക്കങ്ങനെ വരാറില്ല. കാരണം അവരെല്ലാം മനുഷ്യരാണെന്നുള്ള ഒരു തിരിച്ചറിവ് ആ സമയത്തുണ്ടായി എന്നുള്ളതൊരു. അപ്പം ഭരത് ഗോപി ചേട്ടൻ ഒരിക്കൽ പറഞ്ഞു, ആൾക്കാരൊക്കെ നിർബന്ധിക്കുന്നു ഒരു ആത്മകഥ എഴുതണമെന്ന് എന്നൊക്കെ ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ദിവസം ഞാനും അച്ഛനും കൂടെ ഇരുന്നപ്പോൾ ഇങ്ങനെ. അപ്പം ഞങ്ങൾ രണ്ടും പറഞ്ഞു അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ അടുത്തേ, അത് എഴുതുന്നത് വളരെ നല്ലതാണ്, എഴുതണം എന്നിങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞു. ഒരു വർഷം കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹം ആത്മകഥ എഴുതി, ഏതൊരു മാഗസീനിലത് സീരിയലായിട്ടൊക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ അതിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ ചാപ്റ്ററിൽ തന്നെ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്, ഈ പ്രപഞ്ചത്തിലെ ഒരു അണുവിൻ്റെ 100% പോലും ഇല്ല നമ്മളൊക്കെ എന്ന് അദ്ദേഹം അതിൽ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. അതെനിക്ക് വളരെയധികം എൻ്റെ മനസ്സിൽ വളരെ ബാധിച്ച ആ ഒരു ലൈനുണ്ട്. അപ്പം അദ്ദേഹം പണ്ട് ഈ ആത്മകഥയൊക്കെ എഴുതുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് നേരിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുള്ളൊരു വരിയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഭരത് ഗോപിയെപ്പോലെ ഒരു മഹാനായ ഇത്രയും ടാലൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കലാകാരന് ആ തിരിച്ചറിവ് അന്നുണ്ടായി എന്നുള്ളത്, അത് ഞാൻ വളരെയധികം വിലപ്പെട്ട ഒരു പാഠമായിട്ട് തന്നെ ഞാൻ അന്ന് മുതൽ ഇന്ന് വരെയും ഞാൻ ഫോളോ ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. നമ്മളെല്ലാം ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു കുമിള പോലെ ഒരു ഇതാണ്, നമ്മളെപ്പോഴാണ് എന്താ എന്നുള്ളതേ അറിയില്ല. അതിൻ്റെ ഇപ്പം അഹങ്കരിക്കാനൊന്നും നമ്മളൊന്നും ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. നമ്മുടേതാണെന്ന് പറയാൻ ഈ ലോകത്ത് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടെന്ന് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഗുരുജി പറയുന്ന പോലെ വെറും കൈയോടെ നമ്മൾ വന്നു, നമ്മൾ വെറും കൈയോടെ തന്നെ തിരിച്ചു പോകുന്നത്.
So sir, as someone who has been in this journey inspiring us with your stories, I would have one question. How did you become who you are today? If you can tell me in few words, 1 or 2 words.
How did I become?
Who you are today. It's a journey. So if you have to say something, it's my passion, persistence, determination, or it is, my practices.
I think it is destiny and God's grace. I don't. Yeah.
Yes. So that is what you also want to share with.
Yes. And of course, for students, I will say that is not enough. Destiny and God's grace is not enough. You need to have, especially in design and art, you need the passion and lot of hard work and the ability to come out of this urge to make money. That is a big problem.
The chase.
Yes. So, when I was a student, I could definitely go for a job which gave me the satisfaction instead of searching for that highest paid job. Of course, I happened to get a good, well-paid job, but that was not the thing. Those were the days when we used to study for learning something, but nowadays it is not. Yeah. But I thank God that when we were students, we never had the stress of placement and.
Yeah. It was a different scenario altogether. So thank you so much for your valuable time. ഇന്ന് ഇത്രയും കഥകൾ പറഞ്ഞു, ഒരുപാട് മെമ്മറീസ് നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന്.
Yes. To be part of this.
Thank you so much for being in our show, sir.
Most welcome. Yes. Thank you. Namaste.